Hotep Hotep, Ma'at M. Makaru, Amen here. And what I'd like to talk about today is something that I have been observing, I'm going to say over a number of years, but I've been looking at it a lot more closely over the last month or so, and particularly in the last few days with the recent incident. And one of the things that I've always struggled with, or I've had a struggle with, is understanding how come there is so much focused energy on melanated, or people with high levels of melanin. So what we call so-called black people, people who look like me. Okay, so how come there's so much concentrated energy focused on us, and usually it is undesirable, and this energy just keeps growing and growing and growing. And so the way I've come to understand that is one, understanding first, and I'm gonna do this one first, understanding who we are. And a lot of us talk about this. We've seen, whether you want to call it being a god, whether you want to call it being your higher self, a soul animating a physical body, a spiritual being. Some of us, whatever you want to call it, whatever term you want to call it, we have an understanding that we are more than just our physical selves, that we actually have some spirit that's in us. And so the other thing about this spirit that's in us, that we have given ourselves as an extra gift, is something that we call melanin, and that we have given it to ourselves in higher amounts, the highest on the planet. So we understand this. A lot of us have read things about melanin and all the different things that it can do, and whatever. So how come we are not actually seeing this in mass? And instead, what we're seeing in mass is seemingly our destruction. Okay, now, and I want to say that, and I want to say it again. Let's not forget who we are. This God self, this spiritual being, this soul that's animating a body with this amazing supercharge called melanin. Okay, so let's keep that in mind first. So why is it that it's seeming like we're not really seeing these super beings? We're just seeing what it looks like, a level of destruction. Many of us have heard about the law of attraction, and we understand the law of attraction to some extent. But most of the time when we think about the law of attraction, we're thinking about it from the standpoint of either attracting a mate or attracting money. Those are the top two reasons that we talk about the law of attraction. All right. So now, in some of the research, some of the experts on melanin, and I'm not one of them, I'm just talking about it from how I understand it and how I applied it in my own body, in my own life, and in my own brain and level of understanding. Okay. So one of the things I understand from Dr. Joe Pukra is that with melanin is a bonding agent. So when you're talking about curing people of drug addiction and all of these things, one of the things that they found is that you have to use a whole nother method for that when you're dealing with black people versus people with very small amounts of melanin. Why? Because the melanin bonds a lot quicker to things like marijuana, cocaine, whatever you want to call it. There's a higher bonding process. Also with sugar, which is why a lot of us are diabetic or whatever, it's hard to break that cycle because the melanin goes and it bonds. So that is now talking about melanin from the physical perspective. But guess what else it bonds with? It bonds with energy. So Our emotions, when our emotions are high, the melanin is high. So we have this supercharged energy of this melanin that goes out. So let's go back to the law of attraction. I guess you see where I'm going with this. The more and more we focus and we concentrate our anger, our sadness, our shame, whatever you want to call it, on the issues that seem to involve us, the stronger we make that issue. Why? Because we are gods, because we are souls animating a body, because we are spiritual beings, because we have that God self in us. And we're supercharged with the melanin. So that puts a whole nother level on it, especially when there are groups and groups of us feeling the same way, whether it's sadness, whether it's shame, whether it's anger, whether it's, being distraught over, these different issues that are happening. We pissed off and we get mad, and guess what? Then it happens again. And then we get pissed off if something got to be done. We get pissed off, happens again. No, the thing that this society has over us that we don't understand is the understanding of how that works. So the only thing that needs to be done is to throw an emotional issue in there, and you get people who look like us emotional, then you have the control. So what happens now? We understand, one, our God selves, that we are these amazing, amazing souls, spirit beings, God, goddesses, whatever you want to call it, animating these physical bodies. And our joints are supercharged with this melanin. And now, instead of letting events and everything control how that works, we control it. Because we understand if we give all of our emotion and we throw in that extra piece of melanin in there, it's going to make it grow. What happens if we do that and we refocus that energy someplace else? So this is what I'm offering as this is just my little piece. I don't have the answer to solve all world problems, but what I would like to suggest is that at 11:11 every day, or at 1:11 every day, a group of us who understand this, who can get with this, who can see it, and even if you can't see it, just try it and see what happens. That one, we do a meditation, and I can walk through the meditation where we focus, one, on understanding or on really feeling what it feels like to be a soul animating a physical body. Get in touch with the spirit of that. And just take a few minutes or take a few seconds to really bond with that is the soul that is animating the physical self. Two, now that you can feel the soul, and some of you probably feel it, you can feel it in your body, right? Okay, so once you feel that, then get in touch with that melanin piece that is supercharging that soul. So there's another piece, and put those two together and feel how it feels to be that. And realize how freaking awesome you actually are. This is no joke. This is why there is a need to control the energies and the emotions of people who look like us. Because when you really realize how awesome that actually is, and that technically there's no control, then they, and I'm going to say they, I'm trying to get away from that, are not controlling us. We are actually controlling what happens because of our emotions. That all they're controlling is throwing the emotional piece out there, and we react to it, and then they just have the puppet strings, and we're going like this. Every time we get mad, we get madder and madder. It just starts creating. It just starts. We have the force of creation, each one of us. So you think about it. What happens if 100 of us with the force of creation are angry about something? And they're telling us what to be angry about. What about 1,000? What about 10,000? What about 100,000? What about 100 million? All just getting mad. Oh, this happens. Oh, shoot. This is what they do to us. They take all our money. So, you know what I'm saying? If we realize that now we are that, and we know that melanin and emotion work together, then wouldn't we want to control our melanin and our emotion and refocus that on the things that we actually want? We don't even have to include what somebody else wants. All we have to know is that we are these souls. We are God. We are goddesses. We are spiritual beings animating physical bodies. And we got this extra gift called melanin. You mix melanin with emotion, at least let it be the right emotion, and send it in the right direction. Stop sending it in the direction that is giving us the undesirable outcomes. We keep seeing this outcome, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. It's been growing over the last year. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What if we make it smaller and smaller and smaller, because now we're not giving into that one? Oh, you just want me to throw my emotion in there because you know I got that extra charge of melanin with it. It's going to make something else happen. So let's stop doing that. And if we have to focus, and the way to do it, in the way that I've been able to keep myself, because I'm gangster, I'm a warrior up in here, you know what I'm saying? I can go there. The way I've been able to keep myself focused is by realizing that I'm a soul animating a body, that I'm a god walking around here, or a goddess. You know, whatever word you want to use. I know we get tied up on terminology or whatever, but whatever word you have to use that gives you the feeling, that's the one you use. Okay, that gives you that feeling where you can actually feel that spirit, where you can feel that energy, and then you attach that to the extra piece that you have, which is your high level of melanin. And that will keep you focused on who you are, who you actually are. And I know circumstances around you, sometimes it's hard not to think about the circumstances around you. But if you just even create a mantra, or saying something, a safe word, pineapples or whatever, I'm sorry. Sometimes I get silly with this stuff, but whatever word it is, or whatever saying that you need to refocus yourself on remembering that you are a soul, and that if you think about yourself as a soul, or you think about yourself as being a god or a goddess, then who's controlling you? Okay, so now it's on you. Who's controlling your emotions? Now it's on you. And then not only are you a god or a goddess, or a spiritual being, or your God self, or your higher self, or source. I'm just throwing out all these different words because those two words may not resonate with you. I understand that. That's not the point. Whatever word, if you create a word or whatever resonates with you that gets you to that center where you can feel that, then use that. So what I'm recommending, what I realize is that, okay, yes, I have gotten to a point where I can control that emotion that keeps me from going into this rage. Well, what happens again, like I said, with knowing that melanin bonds and it attracts things and it bonds with whatever we say it bonds with. What if a group of us did this all the time? And I know this has been done again. I know this is not something new or whatever, just my little piece, and I'm throwing out, and just whoever resonates with it, they do. And so I'm suggesting 11:11 daily. We have 2 times we can do this: 11:11 a.m., 11:11 p.m., 1:11 p.m., and 1:11 a.m. And if we just focus on being our God selves with our melanin, and that's it. Don't think about anything else, just being that. And we don't think about any of the issues, nothing, just that. And then we take it from there. All right, Hotep.